What's going on, y'all? This is Amir Samael. This class discussion is about protecting your child in trust. This is not legal advice. I'm not a bar card licensee, enrollee, nor is this advice, nor is this an offer or solicitation to be your personal lawyer or representative. This is for information and entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. In fact, it won't be much legal at all. We're going to be discussing a bunch of equity interest. Boom, we're going to get straight into it. The name. You always hear me talk about the name on the birth certificate, driver's license, social security number. If you know anything about correcting your status, a big part of that is your name. Proper name holds absolute rights that may be divided into three principal points: personal security, personal liberty, and the right to enjoy property. Personal security. The principal object of law, it consists in the legal and uninterrupted enjoyment by a man of his life, limbs, his body, his health, and his reputation. Life is a gift which man, woman receives from God, and which society incessantly endeavors to secure him, even before he is born, from the very moment he she exists in vitro sa mir, which means unborn fetus in the mother's womb. So you, as a spirit inhabiting this body, to take care of it, that's your right. To be secure in your health, what enters your body, your temple. So when it comes to, you can say, even like COVID and the vaccinations and stuff like that, how you've been sometimes forced upon you and different situations, that's a violation. Personal liberty is the independence in our actions of all other will than our own, consists in the power of locomotion or changing situation, of removing one's person to whatever place one's inclination may direct without imprisonment, restraint, unless by due course of law for some crime or wrong. In layman's term, the ability to travel freely. You can't. What's the term? Entrapment. That's a violation. Um, just being able to settle, anywhere, your property. The right to enjoy property. The right of quiet enjoyment gives you the right to enjoy your property, doing what you want, as long as it's legal, meaning it doesn't infringe on another man's name or property, his liberty, his freedom, any of his rights. A covenant that promises that the grantee or tenant of an estate and real property will be able to possess the premises in peace without disturbance by hostile claimants. Quiet enjoyment is a right to the undisturbed use and enjoyment of real property by a tenant or landowner. The right to quiet enjoyment is contained in covenants concerning real estate, property in general. Generally, a covenant is an agreement between two parties to do or refrain from doing something. What is an estate? The word estate may mean property and may signify and species of property, real or personal. While the terms estate and property are often used synonymously, it has also been held that the word estate has equally as broad, if not a broader meaning than property. In its primary and technical sense, estate refers only to an interest in land, but in its wider import, it applies to all kinds of property, personal or real. Equitable estates are in equity what legal estates are in law, where an estate is created by deed. A life estate may be created to be enjoyed without the intervention of a trustee. A life estate is alienable, and estate is generally used as meaning property belonging to a decedent or mentally incompetent person or bankrupt, and which is being administered in the courts. An estate is your name, image, and likeness. So if you haven't put it together yet, the name is an estate. Your reputation, yeah, everything about you. It's all property. If you see my reel, I was talking about intellectual property rights. That's considered property. So I don't say this a lot because I just don't want people understanding it this way. But if you're getting into equity and you got, a minor criminal case or, whatever it is, equity doesn't deal with criminal. However, if you make it a matter of property rights, then equity can step in. You have a good chance. You have a better chance. More about the estates here. So administration is usually necessary where a person dies leaving debts, and there may be debts has been considered sufficient to render administration proper. Where a person claiming to be a creditor of the state applies for the appointment or an administrator. It's not necessary that he should conclusively prove the existence of the alleged debt, but if he makes prima facie case, this is sufficient to authorize and require the appointment of an administrator. In such case, administration is necessary to protect the rents of creditors, for a creditor has no right to collect the debt due to estate from another person and apply it on his own demand. And where there has been no administration, he cannot maintain an action against the state of the debtor, nor can he ordinarily sue the heirs or decedent. So let me see what's next step. All right, so all the all the mail you get with debts from creditors, they're all trying to charge the estate. And if you're not rebutting it properly, then so it be. That's what's happening. Your estate is being administered because you're absent. You don't even know you have an estate. Regardless of whether a person is dead or alive, his estate may be administered as that of an absentee. Statutes are construed to provide for the granting or administration of the estate of an absentee rather than the estate or the decedent, and they do not repeal or supersede statutes in relation to administration of the estate or deceased persons. process must be served on either the absentee or his representative. In the case of an absentee, the law allows a fictitious form or citation as well as service on duly appointed representative. Again, that's the bills you get, the traffic tickets. That's what's happening here. You're a representative. Presumption of death as sufficient to warrant administration of estate, administration of an on estate of absentee. Provision is sometimes made by statute, requires a bond on the distribution on the estate of a person who has been absent and unheard or for so long a time as to raise presumption of death, condition, or refunding of the amount received with interest in case the supposed decedent shall prove in fact alive. So you're at the hospital, you don't know anything about this. You sign these these documents. You don't know that you're an informant, and you abandon your baby. You abandon the estate. You essentially then become a representative of the estate. Well, your child becomes a representative of the estate. The goal is to prove that you're alive and then to start administering the estate. You want to be the executor and move the assets. Once you can prove that you're alive, then all of the administration, you're in basically your entire life reverses. It's kind of like, in that sense, it's kind of like say say you buy a car without a title, but then you obviously need to get the title, so you go to the state. They'll give you a bonded title. Why? Because if someone comes and make a claim, or if the rightful owner or whatever comes and make a claim, he's going to be entitled to reimbursement. It's the same thing here. Once you prove you're alive, it's entitled to reimbursement. The birth certificate or certificate of live birth is a public record of the estate. That's a security interest associated with the birth certificate. The life in you is the inheritance. If you claim it from that perspective, then all the derivatives of that life, whether labor or identity, value, energy, any form whatsoever, is a part of your estate. That's the organic side. So you have to write and claim all the securities in the fiction. That's the goal here. But every day you're given security. You're just giving it away, not making any claims, not protecting your interests, not protecting your equity, not protecting your energy.
What's up? So the thing is that when we let them take our
All questions will be held to the end. So let's talk. So more about the name here, more about the estate. So you guys hear me talk about. It's a lot of people that talk about, trust and estates and um, it's probably not one person that knows it all. You know what I mean, and that's cool. But there are things that I bring up that um, I just know because of studying the private side, and a lot of people don't. So they don't know. They only know what they know. And so your property defaults to the status of the master holder. So now if your parents, they abandon you unintentionally, they were abandoned, their parents was abandoned, the cycle has just basically been continued for some time now. You don't have an equitable estate. It's just a legal estate. The legal estate, it's a right to possession. Equitable estate is the right to enjoy the rents and profits from the estate. I'll put it to you like this. You got a house, you pay it off, you still paying taxes. You don't hold the highest title. You don't hold equitable title, you hold legal title. You got the right to possession. But you're still paying taxes. Now, another way you could look at it is, just strictly on the commercial side. If you own a house and you rent it out, then you could look at it like you have equitable and legal title. But that's the trap, just knowing that it's on the commercial side. It's whole accounting to do with that property that you don't know about. So when I speak about equity, that's what I'm talking about, the accounting on the private side. So with all that being said, you have a landed estate. The government, they created a trust. Now you use this trust. You're using this estate, this name, and trust. The trust is going to be the name of the estate. It's going to be the same thing. However, it's all capitalized, implies that you're dead. And it's that of a U.S. citizen. Which is considered property of the U.S. And a lot of people, maybe even some people on here, will use that to identify, not knowing that you have a capacity in relation to it. You're really the grantor of that estate. But if you don't know that you're the grantor of the state, then all you say is, I'm a U.S. citizen. And a U.S. citizen is property of the government. So if you think that you're a U.S. citizen, and then all your entire life you obtain property in the name, that's held in the trust that was created by the government. They control everything. So, in fact, the property that you think you own, you really don't own. They just allow you to think you own it. But when the IRS comes, or one of they gang members, when they come and knock on your door, your property is gone, or you're going to jail, or whatever the case may be, because of your status. You got a federal status and a state status. You're private American. You're a private citizen, private American citizen, and a state national. Private American citizen refers back to the original Constitution, when people were actually considered private, which is worlds apart from U.S. citizen. So when I say private citizen, private American citizen, private American civilian, private American national, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about U.S. citizen. It's nowhere near the same thing. It's completely different status. No matter what people say, I mean, we got proof of days and days of proof. But if all you know is you're a citizen, then that's all you know. Status correction, it starts, I would say, with the name, correcting your name. It's technically called an adult name change, but in substance, we do a name correction. We are restoring the substance, the equities in the name. restoring the status of a private American national. Um, I will, so to touch in on this more, so sometimes people are in a crunch and correcting your name can take some months or it can be fast. It just kind of depends on the system that you're in your state, and depends on, just how much you know about, courts and just navigating. I personally um have never utilized a DBA for situations. However, I've seen proof of it. My mentor, he uh he swears by it, and I know there's a group out there that's doing good work just utilizing DBAs. Um, that would be to separate you from the all cap name, from the birth certificate name. So the status correction, the way we do things versus the way a lot of other people just do things, making a declaration. So we do a petition in the courts, basically saying that we want to be exonerated from the name on the birth certificate, saying that we want to terminate the guardian ward relationship, um, the saying that you can't fuse the principal agent, um, and more things, basically, and just more equity, and all that's on the face of the petition. And it's triple sealed by officers of the court. So you got to think about that versus a DBA versus you just making a declaration and recording it on the county record. I'm not saying that doesn't hold any weight, because it does. I'm just saying you have to ask yourself, what do you think holds more weight? Because my petition, my name correction that I get from the court, that's triple sealed, that's a new landed estate. In the same way, when you're born, your baby footprints is on there. Then you get abandoned. Your mom's basically signing you away. That's a landed estate right there. This is the same thing. So this is a new landed estate. I'm not to attach a birth certificate from the United States. I'm not to attach a social security number from the United States. I'm not to attach none of those documents with this landed estate. And that's literally been told to us by a judge, word for word. So do you want that, or do you want a DBA, or do you want your own declaration recorded on the counter? All of them are good and great, but just ask yourself which one you want. And so that's why we have another class that goes into that heavily. And then if you need help, um, we could talk about that and get you a dedicated case manager to guide you the entire way.
Which one is the most effective?
We're gonna hold all the questions to the end, but again, I'm gonna say this again. Well, you got a document that's signed off by basically two judges and a clerk that on the face of it, it says this guy is exonerated, basically discharged, basically is not the same person as the birth certificate. It's not the same. It's not the same. And you got three judges, you got two judges and a clerk signing off on that. Along with that, on this record, it says it's restoring all your equities. It's saying that you're the heir. It's saying terminating the guardian and ward relationship. You know how the state is a guardian and you are a ward of the state. Y'all seen state property? That's how I learned what state property meant, ward of the state. That's how I truly learned what that meant. So, hood movies be good for us. But that's what that means. So you're terminating that relationship. All this is on the face of the record. So do you want that a judge is signing off on? Two judges and a clerk? Does that sound more effective than a DBA that you just get from the state and a declaration that you come up with and just record it on the county? I would say the way we do things and go through the court and get a triple seal is more effective. I mean, in fact, I know it is, but I want you guys to think for yourselves. What do you think is going to be more effective? What do you think is going to hold more weight? That's what I want you to ask yourself. If you got on the record, it's saying, hey, this all cap name, but then this regularly spelled name is two different people, two different entities. They're not the same person, and it's signed off by a judge. So we're dealing with attachment here. So essentially, if somebody's coming to you and they're looking for that all cap name, but yet you got a record that's signed off by three officers of the court that says you're not that person that they're looking for, then essentially you can be like, you got the wrong guy. Those of you that know me, have just randomly seen me or talked to me or whatever, know that my name correction is my identification. I have multiple identifications, yeah, but I'm going to stand on that more so than I stand on anything else. If somebody truly wants to know my status, I'm going to point to that. They can, you want to know who I am? You can point to that court case. You can look up that court case number, or I'll just show you. So it's no mistakes about who I am. Things that are similar are not the same. That's a equity maxim. So idem sononis, y'all might have heard me talk about that. It's basically saying, when, things that sound the same and look the same, they are the same. That doctrine is running against you. You want to terminate that. Again, that's on the face of the record. So as y'all can see, being a private American is worlds apart from being a U.S. citizen. This is how you truly protect your equity, your private interests. Legislative branch power is the authority to create laws. Executive branch power is the authority to enforce the laws that were created. And judicial branch power is the authority to decide the meaning of the law and how to apply them in real life situations, cases, real people. So what happened is legislative branch, executive branch merged under Trading with the Enemy Act and created a new status called U.S. citizen, to which some of y'all might have thought you were until today. So now with this legislative power, they created jurisdiction derived from Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, referred to as the U.S. territories, to which sometimes you find your guys in this jurisdiction in these courts. Also, with the executive power, created a jurisdiction referred to as the U.S. district, derived from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, 18. In these new jurisdictions, they establish courts to adjudicate, and that's where you find yourself all the time when you're dealing with cases. So, do you see the problem? Where is the judicial branch that's supposed to adjudicate and decide what the law means and how it should be applied to real life cases? It's no more checks and balances. Trading with the Enemy Act, Executive Order 2040, merge the legislative and executive power. When Congress enforces executive order under the military doctrine, it has no judicial power. The Enabling Act enforcing Military Commander-in-Chief Proclamation 2040 from executive branch makes the Enabling Act 1933 constitutional, but 100% without any judicial power, because nowhere does the Constitution be any judicial vest any judicial authority in Congress to vest in Article 2 military. So if you haven't figured out what I'm saying yet, you're basically living a life where your morals, your humanity, your soul, your equity is not considered. And now you see exactly why I deal in equity, because that is where it is considered, though it is a narrow path. And if you don't do things properly, it could be considered, like sovereign citizenship or just some other shit. And that's not what you want. That is basically called commingling. When you start commingling the true knowledge with some other stuff, that's when you start getting jammed up. And yeah, you create a general expression and you become belligerent, and you default back to a US citizen, and yeah, that's what happens. All right, so now that I have went over the name and what all that means, hope you guys wrote out any questions that you have about that. I'm sure you guys do. And then I'll answer it at the end. So I want to get into establishing a trust. I actually did a little bit more here than what I was going to do originally, but I didn't really promote this class heavily, so intentionally, so we can just make it, more close knit. And I'm assuming some of y'all, if not all of y'all, are probably gonna need help, to which when you're actively doing this, you can shoot me a message if you have any questions. possibly might even put together a little support group or something like that. I don't know, but you can definitely send me a message and I'll help you. So we're gonna set up you need to set up a private trust. We do this through the post office. They have red registered mail labels. They have like tracking numbers on them. I'm gonna show you here in just a second. You need to mail one to yourself and sign as grantee. Accepted as grantee. Might sound funny, but that's what you need to do so that you have a record and a witness. And your account is established in the post office, basically. Give me just a second. Actually, all right. Let's see how we do this. Actually, I'll just show y'all at the end. Don't let me forget. I probably won't. They right here next to me. I'll just show y'all at the end. They're registered mail labels. But I will tell you real quick how to get them, because chances are you're not gonna just be able to walk in there and just be like, yo, let me get some of them red registered mail labels. So the best way to do it that hasn't failed us yet over the past 6-7 years, you need to go to the main office. That would be your best bet. Go to the main office. You can try these branches and you'll probably get lucky, but the main branch is definitely going to have it. I always tell people, if you're getting into this life, the people that you're going to see frequently, really, not even frequently, just everybody that you're going to come in contact with doing this, you need to establish a relationship with them. You want to be on their good side. You want to befriend them so that you can get what you need. You might even be putting them on something, teaching them a little bit something. And if they've been in a position long enough, they probably can even tell you something that's going to help you on your journey. And why would they do that? Because equity is going to aid you. That's what happens when you're befriending them and you're doing equity here on your journey. That's the way you're going to learn. So sometimes, or a lot of times, when we say things and it may not necessarily be in writing on paper in a book to where we can point to, it's because we learned it from a clerk. We learned it from experience on our journey. So you want to befriend the clerk, find you one that look cool, whatever. Like I got one. She cool. She give me anything I need, anything I need. You want to go up to that clerk and you want to be like, hey, I have a business where we do tons of international shipping. Like tons weekly. I ran out of my red registered mail labels. And I tried to order some online but they sent me the blank ones with no tracking number. So I'm trying to get a roll of those registered mail labels today, please. Because we do a lot of international shipping. And you shouldn't have no problem getting it. And whether you get a roll or not, you might not get a roll, but you should get a lot, enough to do what you need to do. Me, I got like 3 rolls. So I'll probably good for the rest of my life. That's pretty much the way to get them. Do not order them because 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10, you're not gonna get the right ones. Hold on real quick. Let me switch over. Let's see. Give me just a second. I'm about to pull up this trust for you guys. All right, there we go. Y'all can see my screen. Y'all can see my screen? All right, there we go. Y'all can see my screen. I want to make sure y'all can see my screen before I keep going. And I want to look in the chat. So I might be sending me some private stuff. Y'all should be able to talk now.
Yes, we can see the screen.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, bet. My bad. I just wanted to make sure before I continue. So I'm not going to go in detail, in full detail over all this. However, I am going to kind of explain every part of this. So acknowledgement, receipt, and acceptance. This is going to be your registered mail label number, the tracking number. You're doing acceptance, basically staking your interest in this account number. This is going to be your master number. Then you're going to do a notice of interest. This is basically you giving a notice of your right in the master number and all the sub numbers as well. SOI, statement of interest. It's a notice of delivery. The notice of delivery of those assets. And just so we're clear, this is you doing private banking. It's your private accounting. And then you got your deed. Deed is basically a statement of conveyance. Notice of acceptance by trustee. And then whoever is your beneficiary, you don't necessarily have to put them, but you're not going to put them on these docs. It's already going to be implied that it's your child anyways. If you want, you can at a later date issue a certificate to the child. That's already implied anyways. Or if you want to make somebody else a beneficiary. But most of the time, it's your child. Then you got the certificate of the trust that can be recorded. And so all of these are going to be recorded as well. Here's the indenture to which you do not want to record. If you record it, you have just made your private trust public. And this is just an example one. You can make up your own indenture, get another template, or but I'm going to provide you with one. This is really just a basic one, but rather have one than not have one. If you want to go through a full estate planning, then we can do that. I have we can get that done for you. I can go into detail about that after we get done here. Then a due notice on the offices of the trust and estate. So in the legal world, they just want you to do certificate of trust. I'm not saying that's, you can just do that and that's fine. But to actually do the due process on the offices is more of doing equity. So that's why I added that in there for you guys. All right. So along with the trust, you need an equitable estate. To which I'm not going to show you right now because I really don't want it on the recording. However, I'm going to provide you a template to help you with that. But a lot of times, like I say all the time, people talk about estate, but they don't have the equitable estate, just have a legal estate. And you're really not going to know anything about that unless somebody tell you. Because how did I find out? Luckily, I got good people around me that put me up on things. Talking trust, but what about your estate, bro? What about your equitable estate? How you gonna hold equitable titles? You ain't got your equitable estate though. You need to create a will. Acting as a testator, appoint an executor to distribute the assets to the beneficial private American. I can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So if I didn't already say, my bad, this is for boom. You got new pregnancy, haven't had the baby yet. Maybe this is you. Maybe you plan on having a baby. Maybe you already got your kids in the system, right? Still need to do the private trust and correct your name, your status. Those are definitely the first things that you need to do. And since property defaults to the status of the master holder, obviously you need to correct your status first. Then do the trust. So, about to have a baby, you need a birthing plan. You need to get with a doula and a midwife. The ones we had were amazing. In fact, if it was a competition, we had to compare, I'm sure mine would be top 3 in the entire nation. That's how I felt about mine. That's how you need to feel about yours. You need to get with somebody who understands, assuming that, all of y'all in here, y'all want to live the private life. You are doing things more of the ancestral way, the natural way, then you need a doula and midwife that aligns with that and that knows exactly what's going to happen in the hospital, how it all goes down step by step, who's in the hospital, what they do, what they're looking for, every single little detail they need to know. That's how mine was. She knew everything. It was like she was a quarterback. You need a family Bible record. Put all of your family in there, your grandparents, your name, your children, grandchildren, any new children. Family Bible, you should be able to get from Amazon for like $25. That's where I got mine from. I can also show you that at the end. The family Bible record, that's going to hold a higher title. That's a higher title than certificate of live birth, the birth certificate. And this is just mostly the same I just said, notarized certificate of trust, will and estate, name of baby. Recorded, don't have to be recorded. But it's probably a good thing. When it comes to a birthing plan, expressing notice of trust, along with the certificate of trust or the DBA and name correction, share with the nursing staff, have them sign in front of a private mobile notary if possible. From my experience, it's kind of like a 50-50 being able to get the nurses to sign off on it. However, you still want to get it done, get it notarized, and give it to them as notice of, and still talk to them about this is the plan, this is what you want to happen. Understand that this is a fiduciary relation. you can serve the head of the nursing staff, head of the hospital as well. That's what I recommend. And I would also recommend go ahead and serve the attorney general. Have your family Bible record there ready to be established, write the name in it, or you can wait till you get home really in the comfort of your home. We didn't give them no name. We said we didn't have a name, or you say the name's on special deposit. They'll try to do all types of things, possibly, unless this is the way you go in there. Then they should really have a whole different attitude. But it can just be really tough, and closer to the end, like I'll go over my situation and what happened, and then just some other other experiences to which I've never even shared my experience with most people, maybe only a few close people. Take home the birth certificate application if they're trying to force it upon you. If you have further trouble, then go ahead and sign it. But most people are able to just be like, oh, I'm gonna take it home and then something. Most people don't have, what I'm saying, problems with that as much these days, but still be prepared that you may have that problem. You want to sign as grantor, testator, or executor, the father. You want to cross out informant, sign as grantor or guardian or testator. As the mother, reserve all rights without prejudice. You want to write special private priority, fiduciary relations in the margins of the paper. You want to add Bible scriptures if you can. On the back of the documents, you want to write intent of grantors of infant name estate immediately vest in the baby at the age of 18 or reverts equally to the mother and father. This is basically saying when my baby turns 18, they can handle their own affairs. And if they can't, then we as the parents will continue to handle his affairs or her affairs. Start right here real quick. And so then you want to convey everything unto the private trust. You want to write, you should already have your trust set up, right? So write your trust number on there, the number, the master number that we was just talking about. You want to write that on there, right? Notice the trust on there. Now it's trust property. They ain't got to know what it is, any of that. You can always do that in anything that you are doing. Going to get a car, sign a promissory note, put the trust number on there. Now it's trust property. Now, who has the highest claim? Do they have the highest claim or do we have the highest claim? Because they're living in creditor debtor land, which is the commercial public world. The territory jurisdiction that they have established. Your trust It's on the private side, which is trust law under equity. And when there's a controversy, equity is going to prevail. There is no public without the private. Or I guess I should say the better way is the commercial world stems from the private world. Everything in the commercial world, the public world, has not been claimed by someone in the private. If your children are already in the matrix, basically you already got a birth certificate, social security card, all that good stuff, or bad stuff, I should say. Need to authenticate the birth certificate on the state and federal level. Need to have your name correction. Need to have a revocation, to which I'll show you that here in a minute. And then you need to have a deed conveyance and a deed of conveyance of the birth certificate to your private trust. If no name change, then use DBA, but I'm sure y'all know how I feel at this point about that. Do a legal notice, due process in the newspaper 2 to 3 weeks. And do a testimony under God versus an affidavit of truth. The affidavit of truth is more of a commercial thing, whereas testimony under God is equity. To which I also have that for you as well. The instructions on authenticating your birth certificate, I have that. I'll add to the folder as well. It's not in there right now, but I'll add it. And so if you're in a case, you want to attach all this proof and the charter for CPS, DFS, along with a quo warranto, and send to the judges and chambers and CC the attorney general. Or do it withdraw and redeposit on special deposit, the court case into a court of equity and circuit, district, or bankruptcy, expressing that a court of equity has jurisdiction over minors and The matter at hand is an issue of property rights. To which that'll be in the folder as well. But I will tell you, if you have to take it in, that's going to require you to do some studying for sure. If you're going to have to take it into a higher court, or basically into a court of equity. We also will want to try to wrap the case up in the trust by parole, to which I'll give you a script on how to do that as well. It's all about preserving your private interests on the record in case they just don't want to give you relief because they're limited by their authority because of the jurisdiction of the court and mode that you're in. But you go to circuit, like I said, district, bankruptcy, or even Supreme Court, in the court of equity, and get relief. And I get a lot of this may be foreign and new to you guys, so that's why I have the mentorship coming. And but like I always tell people, you got to start studying and you got to start executing and trying. A lot of stuff we learn is because we execute and have failed and have learned things, learning from my friends that doing the same thing, learning from my mentor has done the same thing, 15, 20 years of, executing and, winning and failing and just learning. If you can try, and as a rule of thumb, not use statutes and codes in your petition, your pleading, your testimony. You can use Bible scriptures, equity maxims, speak from the heart, understand the basic positions of the estate, of the trust, even of suretyship. Just you understand these basic positions, and then you just speak from the heart, then and just add the Bible scriptures in and the equity maxims in, and trust me, even just doing that, you are light years ahead of people. Light years ahead of people. I mean it. Even I'll tell y'all, like my mentor tell me, and a lot of newcomers that just come to class and stuff. Like if you in this class, then you're already like your knowledge, your mindset is already light years apart from the majority of people, man. They just don't know about this. A lot of people don't care to know about this. A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people learn from lawyers. So they're going to say it's sovereign citizenship. They're going to say a lot of things. It's because they do not know. And it's because you have other people out there commingling. when you are trying and you are doing equity, God will aid you. Equity will aid you. I promise. Have enough experience to know this. And the moment you start executing, you'll see too. The moment you start playing the attachment game, you go to court and they'd be like, "Hey, is this you?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I'm the grantor beneficiary. I'm the heir beneficiary of that name." You say it 3 times, you get a different reaction. You're gonna start seeing the power that you have in knowing this type of knowledge. All right. And so that's pretty much the end. And so let me be clear. I'm gonna show you a couple documents here. And so let me be clear. So case, divorce case, a custody, any type of custody case, child support or CPS, any of those cases, you need to speak equity, trust, and quo warranto. This I know from experience. And so I'm going to tell you my experience the best I remember, because I tried not to remember it because it was just probably the worst time, one of the worst times of my life. Or I'll say the most intense time in my life. So at this time, I had been studying, and I had been studying for years, but I didn't have a mentor at this time. I knew equity, but not nowhere near like I know it now. Like nowhere near like I know it. I didn't know about due process, none of that. In fact, I really learned the hard way about due process, even though people might have told me before. I can't really remember or not. But I don't say I learned the hard way, but I really learned in my own court case about due process, a lesson from the judge, basically telling me due process is the bedrock of American jurisprudence. And this is essentially why I can't give you relief today, because you didn't give notice. That's pretty much what he said. So we in our situation, we planned on having a home birth, right? We're just going to do our own birth certificate, and that was that. We just planned to be at home, no interruptions, none of that. From my own experiences, why I say when you are about to have a baby, this is not the time to learn this shit. If you're pregnant and got months to go, cool. But if you're like about to have a baby in the next 30, 60 days, or like the next 30 days, like you be pressing, you better study hard, like every day from here on out. And if you one of those people in this class, then get on it fast and just follow instructions. If you do have to, just follow instructions, man. But so my wife basically was in, I think you call it back labor, for like a week. Ended up having to, do emergency and go to a hospital. The moment we got to a hospital, it was terrible. Didn't even believe she was in labor. Didn't even yeah, didn't believe she was in labor, didn't believe she was in pain, none of that. That's just how they treat, a lot of melanated women specifically. So went through that, then finally got admitted and everything. So we did not have a birthing plan that was really discussed with them prior to that because we didn't plan on it. We didn't plan on going there. And this is why I say, even if you don't plan on going to the hospital, it might be in your best bet to still go up there and plan like you are, let them know maybe, as an emergent situation, and have this birthing plan on hand so everybody's on the same page just in case an emergency comes. That can be sticky because some states don't allow home birth from what I remember. But you'll have to just kind of fill that out and do what you can do. But we wasn't prepared in that way. I did have an amazing midwife, and so she was there with us. And as far as our wishes and what we wanted, I think they mostly were met. The delayed clamping, we got to do that, but not how we really wanted to. I don't even think we was going to. I think we had planned on not even clamping it at all and just keeping it attached. The placenta. But yeah, so we got delayed clamping and so I think our wishes were mostly met. Now, when the baby came, it was, it was an issue. The issue, hold on. All right, so the issue was we smoke weed, basically. And so, that's in the system. And they're basically like, well, there's not enough research. We don't have enough research on it. They was trying to make it like, we're not saying it's bad or good, but we don't really have enough research on it. And the little bit we do, don't really, they basically just wouldn't with it. And so they wouldn't allow her to breastfeed, which that's an issue. So we had to feed my baby breast. No, we had to feed, the formula, the powdered formula. We was able to get, the natural vegan kind or whatever. But I can just remember, for me personally, that was one of the worst feelings ever, having to do that. Which why, but I can imagine if we didn't even have that option, what would we do? So, last year or during COVID, when all that shit was going on, it was a shortage. I felt that too. But yeah, so all that happened, and like strange shit really just started happening. Like, so there was a guy who came in who claimed to be like a pediatrician, and he seemed to be the only one that was cool because what happened? Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So everything's going cool, and then they checking the levels of my daughter, and I forget what the title or name of whatever level it was, but whatever it was too high, I think. Whatever it was too high. So they was like trying to basically keep us in there. And they was like, well, y'all should be able to leave in like 24 to 48 hours. That's what they were saying. So I'm like, okay, I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to, the midwife, and they're like, oh, no, that's cool. It can be standard or whatever. Now, they already hit me with the birth certificate. I'm like, we ain't got no name. They probably asked like 2-3 times. We ain't got no name. Birth certificate, we just gonna take home. So, they was cool with all that and everything, seemingly. But still wouldn't let us go. And they talking about the baby's level or whatever. So then the next day goes by. I guess the level hadn't came down. And they're still checking on us and everything. Then I noticed just in talking, it goes from 24 to 48 hours, or at this point, it's the next day, so it really should be only 24 hours. It goes to 72 hours. And I'm like, nah, then, my antennas start perking up. I'm like, hold on. Nah, we're supposed to be leaving tomorrow. So then this thing basically started getting tense, like real tense. So I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. Then I'm talking to whoever I talk to. They basically confirming, nah, they're not gonna let us go in a minimum of 72 hours. So now I'm starting to feel like, well, y'all got us trapped in here then. So at this point, I ain't gonna lie, I started turning up. I'm like, yo, y'all better get somebody in here with some authority or it's gonna get real ugly in here. And I said it to a nice nurse, the nicest one that was in there or whatever. And by this point, we had already talked to this guy who was a pediatrician. They claimed he was a pediatrician, but he was in there for a couple days and seemed nice. And he kind of talked us down on like one thing or whatever, because he was just trying to get out. And nah, after that, we ain't see that guy never again. We was asking about him. Boys was like, nah, we don't know who you talking about. We described him. They like, nah, ain't nobody ever worked here like that, or at least not on this floor. Not nobody that we ever deal with. Like they just act like this nigga was a complete ghost. Like it never ever happened. Swear to God, act like it never ever happened. This guy had to be like social worker or something. So back to where I was just saying, yeah, I turned up. I'm like, get somebody in here, or it's gonna get real ugly in here. So next thing I know, they get like the head nurse and 2 sheriffs comes in. So I'm like, two big ass sheriffs. Like, so I'm like, damn. But I'm still in the mindset like, well, either we gonna figure it out or shit, we gonna die. Everybody, we all gonna die. That's basically my mindset. We all gonna die. Long story short, we basically had to dig and research why the level was high. And that was from the delayed clamping or whatever. Then we had to get on the phones with the manager over the test and figure out what kind of test they was using and how it compares, and figured out that it was old. And we just basically had to go through the hoops and able for us to be able to get out and talk about the ombudsman. And basically, I'm basically I'm reciting, my rights as best as I know at the time in equity and trust. And but again, we don't have this on paper either. So we just expressing it from the heart and doing what we can do. So, like I always say, just having faith and just being, warriors of God, we fought our way out there, fought our way out of that hospital without birth certificate, without social, without birth certificate and all that, without being locked up, without them ever taking our baby, without any of that. And at one point they was like, well, y'all can leave, but the baby is staying. They literally told us that many times. So when I say it's not the time, the last minute to start learning this shit, I'm speaking from the heart, experience, and I'm passionate about that shit. But then that's not even it. Luckily, we had multiple properties. So CPS is now knocking on our door at one of our properties that we rent out as Airbnb because we basically had them all in, our name. So yeah. So now we got CPS knocking on our door like every single day, like clockwork for like 3 months. Really, might have been a little bit longer than that. Might have been like 4 or 5 months. Um, yeah, it was like clockwork every day. And we live in a gated community. Still, didn't matter. It was getting in. Um, so obviously, we had a case. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna deal with this case while this woman is showing up on my properties. We express trust law and quo warranto. That is what shut down the case. Now, the prosecutor or whatever, or the lady that was working the case or whatever, tried to comment on there saying it was sovereign citizen. However, you can just strike that. That was the end of the case. Since then, I've just learned other things for protection and better protection, just how to navigate better. But I'm telling you, that's the things that you will go through. And after that, I start learning more and then start helping people and come to find out a lot of people go through this, especially when they start last minute trying to learn this. And I get it. You're excited. You go into protection mode. I get it. But that's so intense that it will scar you for life. And that's not what you really want. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But the good thing in equity is you can go back and correct things. Equity is all about correcting your mistakes. You can go back 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, go into the future 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. That's equity. All right. Just basic will. You can create your own or do your own. I'm also going to add a note in there for you so that it's something I just learned. And I'm gonna add it in there for you. so that you can include the birth certificate. Declaration of revocation of election. So like this. So this is referring to I got a brain for it, my bad. All right, so it's referring to your status, like your taxpayer status. Resident alien individual of the United States. United States. You want to be a non-resident. Just you changing your status, revoking this election, it can be the difference in a lot of things. That's why I'm always incorporating that in all of my documents, really. I'll tell you guys exactly what I put. Give me just a second. I'll just add that in there too, exactly how I incorporated in my papers so that you can further see it. But you'll need to sign this and send this off to the IRS. And I'll add exactly the words I use in every paper to incorporate my status, my basically my tax status, because again, that could be the difference in a lot of your and a lot of things you get jammed up on, I should say. This is a deed, trust transfer grant deed. That's how I like to convey things, as I like to say properly, with valuable consideration. Gonna add a dollar bill is what you're gonna have, a dollar coin, which is like the Sacagawea coins that you can get from the bank. You're gonna add a dollar stamp or a $2 stamp. The serial number from the dollar. Gonna put here. Your trust number, you're gonna put here. And so like, let's say you got a case. So let's say you got a new case going. So here's your master number. Why is this highlighted? All right. So here's your master number, and then you got a new case going. So you're gonna assign it 15. Then if you had a new case or a new dealings with, let's say, a new company, you would do 16. And then say now you're going through another case. That's going to be 17. But so everything with this case, you're going to do 15.001. Then the next document, 15.002. You are being organized and you're doing your private accounting. This is all trust res, trust property. It's accounting for your trust. What I would suggest is you create you a table. Like I tried to find it. If I can find it, I'll add it in there. But like I have for my trust, I have a table. I call it a table of res, which is basically table of trust property, like a registry of trust property. I got the numbers for everything that I send out for every situation and everything. I have it all. If I need to be audited, it's right there. When I want to have it audited, it's right there. Your trust minutes, I'll add that in there as well. Got to get in the habit of doing trust minutes. Even myself, I'm more in the habit now, but I wasn't always. That can hurt you. Birth certificate, bond, file number, and or it could be the case number, or it could be the VIN number, or whatever serial number. This is the identification, the case number from your name correction. I'm gonna change this up. Actually, this ain't the one. This should say grantee. It should be accepting it. But this is what it look like. I'll get the right one in there. It's a template, testimony of truth, under God. You have to fix it for your situation. And I'm gonna add a few more things in there as well. Some things I didn't plan on doing for y'all, but I did anyways, just because it's a small class and just because it's about protecting these babies. So, I went ahead and put them in there anyways. All right, and so at this moment, I have in the class my sister Ada, who is a doula, and she has been through this and she's executed on this in her own ways. And she's just going to talk to you a little bit about her experience. And then we might have one other person that might want to say something. Possibly. I gotta see. But then after that, I'll answer questions and then we will be done. All right. Let's see. Oh, maybe she's not. Let me see if she's still on here. Ada, you on here?
I don't see her on here.
Yeah, I'm saying. Let's see. Did she hit me? Okay. No, okay, she's she had a personal issue. I didn't even see that. She had said that before class. That's my fault, y'all. She had a personal issue. So yeah, maybe I'll be able to get her to hop on the live sometime this week and she express her what she went through, and then if I can get her to do that, then I'll send y'all the recording just in case y'all missed it live. So we'll see if we can do that. Let me see. All right, we can start with questions at this time. Jess, go ahead.
Just raise your hands so I can call on you.
Yeah.
Okay, Joseph Del Visco. Unmute yourself, please.
Hello?
No, man, that's
Joseph.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right, now, how do you get into the equity side of law? Is that after you change your status?
what did you say? I'm sorry, can you how do you get
How do you get into equity? Like right now I'm dealing with I'll try to make it quick. Me and my kid's mother had a child 5 years ago. Right away, she took me to court for majority custody. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no lawyer, I had no nothing. 2 years later, she gave her to me. 5 days a week. And I had her for 2.5 years, 5 days a week. I pretty much began planning her life and everything else under the agreement with her mom. Her mom then decided at some point she no longer wanted to do that, and I was playing the honor system. She decided to try to enforce the 2017 order that gave her majority custody, took her back from me, and now is trying to institute child support. And I'm trying to get a hearing to fight for custody, showing like I had her for 2.5 years, and
All
I
right, so
provided.
this is the thing, bro. So you saying that, so you need to show that you have the highest title. That's what
Okay.
this is about. So you need to establish your private trust, and you need to get the birth certificate. You need to authenticate it. You need to convey it to your trust. This is showing that you have the highest title. You have custody. You should have
Okay.
custody.
Okay. So do I have
So
to
if you
change?
go into a case and you start talking about other legal things about, like, you know, just other things that's really not going to help your case in equity, then I mean it's not going to help you.
Okay. So what what do I need to do? Again, can you say that one more time?
So you need to go back through the class and follow the instructions on establishing your trust, and authenticate the birth certificate for the kids and conveying them to your trust. You need to establish um, your name. You need to correct your status
Okay.
first, and then do private trust and everything else. Everything that we just went over in the class.
Okay.
The documents are in the folder.
Okay. Now, if when I go to do the thing with the birth certificate, is there any way that I don't need her mother for any of that, right?
You're the father. You should be able to get the birth certificate. You should be able to order it.
Okay. And so I do have one.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't need her to like agree with anything or sign anything or any of that shit, right?
Fam, you got the same rights that she got. You know what I mean? And
I
vice
know.
versa.
Don't
So,
feel that.
I mean, it might not feel that way, but that's why you're here in class, so that you can make it feel that way.
You know.
You know, that it doesn't feel that way. Well, guess what? Now I have the highest title held in trust, a private trust.
Okay.
So
So correct.
you have a higher claim than I do. State your claim. If not, this is what I need to happen.
Okay. So I correct my status, establish trust, and then what was the one after that?
Everything that we just went through in the class. So you'll be able to go through class and see it, but you need to authenticate the birth certificates and convey it to your trust.
Okay.
That's the main object and the main thing that you guys need to do.
Okay.
So, like, all right, so here's the thing. So when you have, so we're all taught legal. We're all
Yep.
taught possession. Legal is possession. I want the money in my pocket. I want the car in my garage. I want to live in the house on my land. That's what we're all taught, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What we're not taught is the other side, the invisible part, the enjoyment part of the benefits of the interest. So another way to put it is let me see. All right, just to not make this long. All right, so if you got a birth certificate, that's legal, right? So if you do due
Okay.
process on claiming, hey, I'm claiming all rights, titles, interests, profits, rents on this document, this, this estate, this birth certificate.
Okay.
Due process in the newspaper stating exactly what I just said. Get more fancy if you understand it. If not, do the best you can. Equity is all about intent and purpose. Can I look at this man, this woman, and see what his intent and purpose was? Legal is not about intent and purpose. Legal is what you put on this paper.
Okay.
Legal is, and was it right by our standards? So you want due process, right, on all rights, title, profits, interests, and all that. So now you get an affidavit of publishing. Now you have record of you running due process on the equity. And now you also have authenticated birth certificate, which is the legal title. So now you have equitable title, legal title. Now you have both titles. Now you want to merge title. Now you have absolute title. Now you have absolute custody. You have absolute rights. Who has a higher right than you? If you think you do by some magical way, stake your claim. Otherwise, this is mine only, and this is what it is. That is how you merge titles. That is how you deal with equity and the legal side.
Okay. Is this now? I have supposedly I started this process of trying to get in front of a judge in May. Now, her friend, who a good friend, is a social worker who got her lawyer, who's in with the judges, so they keep delaying it and not letting me state my my claim. But in the meantime, they want to enforce child support when I never even gave up my kid. They just took her and tried to enforce some 2017 order that she hasn't followed for the past 3 years anyway.
Well, that's why I'm telling you what to do. You
Okay.
have to follow instructions, man. You're gonna beat child support and custody situations with trust law and suretyship. Trust law is higher than suretyship. So
Okay.
I teach plenty of suretyship all day long for free, all day long. You can study that, and I just gave you the game on the trust law today in class. So you will be good. You just got to study. None of this works without you studying. Period.
Okay.
And you're not gonna get it overnight. It takes time. Like the game that I'm giving y'all, I have 6 years experience, 3 years full throttle every day studying type of experience. Like it's 365 days in the year. I guarantee you I probably studied 300 and at least 300 of them days I probably studied. That's the type of studying that I do. That's the type of dedication. The people that are even successful with this type of stuff, that's the type of dedication that they have. You know what I mean? Like, you may not be able to have, like, do it as many hours, but you need to have that type of energy. Like,
Yep.
I got to study and execute. Like, nah, I'm not going out this weekend. I need to study and execute.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is the rest of my life.
Yep. Appreciate it, man. Next question.
Elizabeth, Joseph, you can lower your hand.
All right.
Elizabeth, thank you. Elizabeth, going once.
Going twice.
Hello?
Yes,
Sorry.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I started talking. I was still muted. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Got it.
So I just wanted to piggyback on that last question, because my situation is I'm kind of dealing with like a whole mess. So like the custody thing, CPS got involved, and now child support, and my partner is currently locked up for child support. So will this also help a person that's already contracted with child support?
So from the beginning, I stated that the trust you're abandoned, and they create a trust for you to use. They being the government. So therefore, everything that you have done in that name, every single last contract, all your property, everything in your entire life stems from that trust that they created, not you, not your parents. So you have to think for yourself, if I didn't create this trust, but yet I am doing all this contracting in the name of this trust, then it is all connected to this trust. Everything. All contracts. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the situation is. It's
Okay.
all connected to that trust.
Okay, so it'll take care of everything on the table. That's what I'd like to hear. And so it's also if you have so when I do all of these things, right, authenticate the birth certificate, do the trust thing, all that for my kids, I'm not the parent of primary residence, my ex is. So once I have all of that, then I can get custody of my children again, because I have the highest title, right?
Yes, then you
Okay.
need to start enforcing it.
Okay,
That's why I was talking about the election, the revocation of election, the quo warranto, the CCing it to the Attorney General. Now that you have the highest title held in trust, you want to show that and start enforcing it to make people start moving. That's what you want to do. Now, if I give the impression that it's just going to be easy, I'm sorry, because that's not what I'm saying. Can it be easy? It can. Is it going to be easy for everybody? It's not. Is it? Sometimes it's easy for people. Sometimes it's not. It's just no way of knowing, how that go. You know, uh, with the baby situation, it was extremely intense and hard for me. Got a friend, it went smooth for her. What can I say? So just always have faith and be prepared, and be ready to, enforce.
okay. Thank you.
Gotta know that you have the highest title. Like if you just doing it and you like, okay, I did it now. Now I'm about to see what I can make happen. It's not gonna happen for you. You need to be like, okay, I did this. I know I have highest title. And I know I have highest title. So I'm going to enforce it now. And if you say otherwise, then show me proof. Show me proof that you have a higher title. That's the energy that you need to have.
Okay. Now, how do you enforce that? Like when it gets to that point, you're dealing with a parent who's very combative. We're talking about the worst case scenario here.
You need to order a hearing, or if you're already in the case, then you're gonna send that to judge's chamber and express that everything that we covered today.
Okay.
Now, the indenture is not going. You never show your private indenture to anybody. Only time, or you show the indenture to the parties of the trust. Now, if a judge wants to see it, he can see it in camera in chambers. That's when you can show.
Okay.
Otherwise, he just gets a notice.
Okay. Thank
With-
you.
You want to send a notice to
Mhm.
his chambers, then when you're going into court, you start enforcing. You can wrap it up in the trust, to which I'll give y'all that. You want him to acknowledge the trust, because now you flip the mode. Now you acknowledge the trust, yeah, okay. Now we're dealing with trust. So you guys don't. So now I have highest title held in trust. You don't have privy. You don't have privy to this trust. You keep expressing trust law. You're damaging trust rights. Yeah, you just want to keep expressing it. And again, CC the Attorney General as well. Write him a letter requesting he intervene. You know, write him a letter requesting he intervene under law, under common law powers.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
No problem at all. Next question.
Focused. You're up next.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, that's my bad. My business is named Focus Energy. I'm Foster Lido. So how do we're gonna access all of the templates and everything? You're gonna email them to us. Is how we're gonna be able to get it, so I can fill all my stuff out.
So you'll get a link to access the Dropbox in 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, 24 hours, since I got a lot of things, and I got, majority of the documents in there. And so when it comes to like establishing a trust, like that's kind of cool to that's cool. But when it comes to like the testimony on a guy, you want to make that like more so for your situation and kind of more so from the heart. I just put some things in there to kind of help you as far as
Right.
like wise, but you want to put your own magic on that.
And I'll choose my own Bible verses too.
Yeah, exactly. That's coming straight from the heart. It's coming straight from the heart and how you feel.
Okay.
And then the deed is cool to keep that the same way, and yeah, everything else. The will, like that's cool, or you can do your own. Like that really, it's not a big deal. Usually, I have more stuff to where I just be like, nah, you need to. It's a template, but you need to do your own thing. But in this case, everything is pretty much cool except for that testimony under God.
Okay. And I have 2 children. Both was born at home. The first one is 2 years old, and I filed for his birth certificate and social security number, so he's in the matrix. But for my daughter, I held off. She's 4 months old, and she's not filed anywhere yet. We just filed for the birth certificate, and that's it. Not a social security number. What's the next step I should do after that?
You said, say that again. You just said like 2 things.
So my son, he is 2 years old. He was born at home, but we filed for a social and a birth certificate. But my daughter, she was just born 4 months ago at home, and she doesn't have a birth certificate or a social. But we just filed for the birth certificate though, because I was told we need the birth certificate to travel.
So, so you need to establish a private trust, and you need to authenticate the birth certificates, and you need to convey those to the trust.
Okay. To the trust. Okay. Yep, I got all that down. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Do I have to get a social security number for her, or with the trust with the trust EIN or the trust number or master number be the number we use?
So the number you use for what?
Her social. Because she doesn't have one.
What are you trying to do?
Well, just when we travel and like just start putting things in the trust name or in her name, anything, or we don't need it necessarily. I'm just asking.
So if you're putting stuff in the trust name, then you need an EIN for banking purposes.
Yeah, I filed an EIN for the trust, but that's under my
Need a
name.
foreign EIN.
Okay.
Foreign
name. Put that down.
And you need
All right.
an EIN for the estate.
1 EIN. All right.
What is that?
You also, the Numinant, you need to go ahead and request the Numinant record now, since you already applied for social.
Numidin, how do you spell that?
Numident.
Numidin. Okay.
And yeah,
Perfect. And we just do the same process for both kids and every kid that comes
come back to
after.
the class and everything, like, make sure you follow instructions to the class. You get jammed up somewhere, shoot me a message.
Roger that.
You might, if you're trying to do the Numinant and the
Right.
you might need, you can try to do it on your own. You might need a consultation for that. I don't know yet. Because the way I did mine was just entirely customized when I requested it. But not to say, if you got your status and then you request it, then you might be good. But that's just something you're gonna have to navigate and see, or we'll just have to set up a consultation.
Okay. Perfect. Appreciate you for your time, bro.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. Appreciate it. Next
Hold
question.
on. Oh, wait.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, before we take another question and before people are getting off, I'll show y'all real quick. So if everybody can see my screen.
We gotta get a roll of them registered mail.
Gotta get a roll of these. The other ones, the one, like if you order them on the website, they'll be red with some generic UPS logo and saying you will not get these. Have to go in and get these exactly. Say word for word what I said, damn near.
And what are those?
Red registered mail labels. Red registered, mail labels for private mail.
And we get those from the post office?
Yes,
Okay. For free, or we have to pay for them?
for free.
Okay. And okay, but what do we do with them?
These are what you use to establish your trust and do private banking, private accounting. Did you get into class late?
No, I've been here, but I mean, I had questions and I wish that we could have been able to ask them as you were like going over certain stuff, because it would have just helped it set in better, but I'm just trying to figure out, okay, we have these stickers, what are we supposed to put them on? Like,
You're mailing yourself an envelope with that on it, so that you have a record and it's activated in the system and it's yours. Then you're going to record your interest in that number, establishing your trust and your interest in the sub numbers. Every time that you send documents out, you're going to use those sub numbers and assign them to whatever documents that you're sending out, so that it becomes trust property. It's private accounting. The same way you get documents and they have a file number on it, or they have some type of document
Thank you.
on it, so that they know who it belongs to, you're doing the same thing.
okay, so more so just using it as like a tracking, an identification format for everything that we create with our trust documents and what we send.
Yes, for your ledger. You're creating a ledger. So it's tracking for your ledger, your private ledger.
Cause I did have a question, and I was like, you were showing an image of I think it was the conveyance document, and you had like these numbers on there that said, let me look at my notes because I wrote it down. You had a number that said real property or res number, and then registered warrant or bond numbers. Those are the numbers from those red slips.
So on the left side, it says res number. That would be trust res number. That would be the res number that we're going over now that you're asking me about. On the right-hand side, you have the warrant number. That would be the serial number from the dollar.
From the dollar. What does that mean? Are we putting,
You're putting the serial number from the dollar. That is the valuable consideration on the deed. You should have a dollar, a stamp. You should have a dollar, a $2 stamp, and a dollar coin, like a Sacagawea coin that you get from the bank. That goes on the deed. The serial number from the dollar is the warrant number that goes on the right-hand side of the deed. The left-hand number that says trust res, that's the numbers that you just asked me about that I just showed you.
so we actually like tape a coin to the paper?
You actually tape a coin to the paper. You actually put the stamp on the paper. You actually tape the dollar bill to the paper. Yes. And then that conveyance, you can record it and redact the information you want. And it goes into your private trust folder vault.
And we do that with everything that we convey, or is this to start the trust?
Everything that you send out, convey, everything, period. You're using your trust. You're operating out of your trust.
No, I'm asking, do we put the money on tape the money on each document that we send or convey to the trust?
Every deed where you're conveying something to the trust, yes.
And what does it do specifically?
Coin passes title. You never have valuable consideration. So coin is the number one way you pass title. That's in Bouvier Law Dictionary on conveyances. So that's why you want to add the lawful valuable consideration to your deeds.
Okay.
Now you have the highest interest. Now you did a proper conveyance. Now, when you show your proof versus their proof, you will have the highest interest, and you can show that you have proof.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a newbie when it comes to understanding a little of the trust stuff, but this is something very new to me, this part, to put in
Yeah, for sure. Because this is the equity part that people don't know.
Now, do the documents that we're getting, is there anything that kind of touches on this a little more? Because I feel like I need a little more like in-depth talk through about this. And I don't want to hog up all the time asking questions about it.
Something like that, you have to just get with me and we set up a consultation and I can explain more and give you more resources. But essentially, as far as, the equity and private side, you're going to have to, study Pomeroy, and you're going to have to study trust more trust law.
You said study Pomeroy?
Pomeroy, Professor Pomeroy, John Norton Pomeroy.
Pomeroy.
Audience books, they got some books for $6.50.
Can you spell that, please?
Pomeroy.
Pompory.
Pome.
Oh, E.
ROY. Yep.
Thank you.
No problem at all. No problem.
Brittany, can you lower your hands? I think that was you that was speaking, correct?
Yes, I do have another question, but if I want to let someone know, so I'll come back.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. Thank you. Jesse, you're next.
All right. What I wanted to know, can y'all hear me?
Yep, what's happening with you?
All right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right tonight? I got a very high value trust. And you were saying like it's a trust fund that was set up when I was like 17, but it's very high value. So you was talking about merging titles. You know, I'm kind of iffy on correcting my status because we kind of like already off the grid. We like, you know, we live a certain way already to where we ain't really in the system too much, you know, based on the trust that we got set up. But it is I wanted to know, I got two things. I want to know how not to merge the title because I don't want to correct my status and put my, you know, I heard you speaking on that, on putting my trust out there in the open or putting my, because it's I don't want to put my trust, you know what I mean, or put my assets.
The thing that you have to worry about is merging the titles. You do not want to merge the titles, which I think you know.
Right. I don't want to merge the titles, not at all.
Okay, you know that, right? Okay, exactly.
So how do I not merge
But
the
just
titles?
because they gonna ask you what? They already ask you what every so often, what, every 5 years or however many years, if you want to settle the trust, if you want to close it out, or however they word it.
Nah. Oh no, the trust I'm talking about is like I got a multi-million-dollar trust set up. And it's an irrevocable trust. But it's an irrevocable. So even after I die, because it's an annuity and a trust, it's investments, it's a professional organization that run it, or a nonprofit organization, but they might like my financial advisors, my trustees, they are professional. But the thing is, like when I die or pass on, everything goes over to my child, my beneficiary. That's how it's set up.
Right.
But,
okay. So then you good then. So you don't have to worry about merging titles. You just have to make sure that your beneficiary knows, hey, no, I don't want everything coming to me. I want to keep it in trust. Because if
okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
If your beneficiary be like, yeah, go ahead, settle the trust. You know, I want everything. You know, they ain't got to know the correct words. They can just be like, yeah, I want everything. Put it in here in this bank account for me. I'm good now. That is merging the titles. Now you close out the trust. Now your assets not protected. Now you did everything for nothing. That's not what
okay. I got you now. So as long I can correct my status, it won't apply to that as far as my trust, the way that it's set up.
Right, it's gonna help you. So do you have a birth certificate now, or like?
I don't have a birth certificate because I wasn't born in the United States of America. But I'm a naturalized citizen. So, you know, naturalized.
You need to do the name correction now. You need to do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now the second question is, my wife was right here. I kind of was in and out the vehicle when we first started, but basically, like we did a off the grid birth, water birth, natural birth, lotus birth. Wasn't nobody around. Well, we ended up paying like we paid a doula, a midwife $7,000.
Yeah.
But what happened? We was gonna have the baby in the river, and so what happened, she ended up getting the $7,000 when we gave her the last $2,000 payment. She came back like 2 days later, like, yeah, it's gonna be cold, so y'all might want to rethink having a baby in the water. What we did, we never talked to her again. We just shut down on her. Cause another thing was that, you know, she said she was gonna have to file, like when we was gonna have to you know, being that she was a doula or midwife, she wasn't a doula, she was a midwife with the state of Texas. She was going to file the name. So we just shut down on her, and we end up doing the birth by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Without no assistance. Now at this point, what my understanding, I don't want to put the name in the public, because once you put the name in the public, that ain't private no more. So, you know, that's why I kind of caught on to you, because you were saying, you know, special deposit the names and trust. Can you kind of like just detail that a little more for me? So, you know,
you putting a family record. You're doing a family Bible record. And
Right,
you
I
put
already got it.
Then you assign your trust, assign a trust res number to it. And then,
Okay.
you know what I mean? It's in trust. You can even
So-
do a conveyance, you know what I mean? So you have record of it being conveyed in trust if you want to do that. And then you just doing a public notice. It can be as basic as, hey, you know, we had a baby on such and such date, a baby boy, baby girl at this time in good health, and everything is everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And that's what I want to understand. Like, as far because I did that. We got the newspaper notice getting done tomorrow, but I waited to this day. I held off so that I can understand. We want to take because we put our names in there. We didn't put our offspring name in there. So
yeah.
we want to take our names off as well. And I kind of didn't know how to word it. Like, should I just say that where our name's supposed to go? Just put names in on special deposit, or how should I word that? Is what I was trying to figure out.
No,
The newspaper publication.
I would leave your names on it, fam.
Oh, leave. Okay. So leave our names on there. Don't put.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would
I
leave
got
your names on there, but just don't put the baby's name on there if you don't want to.
you. Okay, and with this same situation, we can go get the baby passport, right? Without the name being on the affidavit of publication.
So that part, you really not gonna. That part is really not the issue. The issue is you're gonna need an in personam appointment to get in your
Absolutely.
passport, and you're gonna have to, yeah. So you just gonna have you're gonna have to navigate that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do a consultation with you.
Unless, like, I know if you use your name correction and you have an in personam appointment and you expressing your status in your jurisdiction, and you can even feel like, yo, I reside in heaven, you know, I ain't never had no social, and you know, you start going at them like that in personam, and you stick to it, they're gonna knock 3 times. They're gonna test you 3 times, but you gotta stick to it. Then you should be good. But
Okay.
I can't navigate. I can help you navigate it, but I can't tell you exactly how that's gonna go. Cause that is something that
we gotta go in there. It's our birthright. Yeah, y'all know what you're talking about.
But
sure.
in personam, equity is all about in personam. And so even when I'm dealing with cases and everything, like we have the best we have the best outcomes when we can deal with things in personam, you know what I mean, instead of just dealing with things in the mail, you know, and e-filing and stuff. So yeah, that I know 100% for sure when it comes to getting your passport is the way to go.
Yeah, well, I already did. I went to the passport agency and had an in persona with like date, and he even filled me in on how to go about it coming back. He said don't come back to his, you know what I'm saying, to that agency, because we went straight to the passport agency.
Yeah.
And he told me to just go to another city, and he told me exactly what to do. So I kind of sat down with somebody, and he filled me in, you know, because how I went at him, how I came in there in persona, you know.
And see, and that's just another testament to, you know, you just, what I said earlier, just been on this journey and, you know, expressing your rights and just navigating and being friendly. You know, you're gonna get people like that just put you on game and tell you exactly what you need to do, man. And it's just gonna be more of that. The more you know, you just keep navigating and being yourself and befriending people, man. I promise you're gonna get more of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Just shoot me a message, man, if you got another question.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to do a consultation with you, and I really want if you can, like, I'm gonna hit you right after this because I want y'all to go ahead and you said that you will do the paperwork, right?
Yep, shoot me a message and we'll get with you on how all that goes.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Take it off the hand down. Put the hand down.
All right. Next question.
Jose Jimenez. You're next.
Yeah. I just had a couple. Oh, I only had really one question, but it kind of already got answered about the templates. How we were gonna receive them. Calm down.
I can barely hear you. You going out.
Yeah, I just had a question about the templates. You said we're gonna get them through Dropbox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think you got answered earlier. So
Okay, bet. Appreciate it, man. Next question.
Mark Anthony.
Hey, yeah, my question is, so how do we autograph those documents? Anything that's coming in, like you said, that that's coming in the mail, and different things. How do we?
Depends on what it is. Depends on what you're doing.
All right, if you got something coming from like the hospital or something coming from like the school, you know,
Then you can do it as the guardian, as testator, as the grantor. Any one of those.
okay.
You're
And then
dealing
another,
with the trust and estate.
one more time,
Say you're dealing with the trust and estate.
the state at the same time. Okay. So you're dealing with the
Testatrix, somebody who appoints an executor.
okay. And then how do you show them that you're alive? You was talking about earlier in the talking about the authentication.
So that, I mean, so that is not something I can just give you a direct answer on. If I could give you a direct answer on that, we all be billionaires. But
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Well, check it out. So if you go to the hospital and you get the original birth records here in the state where I'm at, they have there's three options. The first one is living, and if they circle that circle on the original birth records, would you be able to use that for, that's proof right there. It says that I was living.
What are you talking? It sounds like you're talking about a live birth record. Certificate of live birth.
We don't have that here in this state. So what I did is I went to the hospital and got the original birth record. And then from the original birth record, like I said, it has living on there in this circle. So,
well, I mean, it could be it. It could be what you need.
okay. I took it to the Secretary of State and got it authenticated. So, all right. Then I had another question if I could get it through. So my son's mom had got she's no longer here, and I a rescission of signature, meaning there was a contract where my son went with the grandfather, but the grandfather's acting shady. So I put it in and put it on the docket, but of course they're not adhering to it. So his birth certificate's already authenticated already. So I just need to do the trust, what you were talking about earlier, doing the trust steps.
Yeah, make sure it's authenticated on both levels as well.
It is. It's all the way up. Okay. So once that's done, and once the trust is done, and you do that through the postmaster.
And so tell me again how he got tell me how it went again.
All right. She's no longer with us because something that happened.
Yeah, right.
So what was going on is it's like it's real shady. You know what I mean? But so what happened was,
let me ask you this. You ain't even gotta really go into it. What did she want to happen? Do you know what she wanted to happen?
Yeah, she wanted me to be in his life all day.
All right. So what I would suggest you do is a testatrix intent. You would know what she wanted.
Right.
Do a testatrix intent. It's basically saying what she would have wanted.
All right.
Get it notarized.
Get it notarized, and then take that and file that on a document, as well as what the court warrant though that you're gonna add in the
Yeah,
file.
you want to send that to judge's chambers though. You want to send all that to judge's chambers. But yeah.
even the authenticated birth certificate as well?
Yeah, you want to send all that to Judge's Chambers?
All right, and then I did what you said too. I did a name change as well for both of us.
All right,
And-
so let me go over the name change real quick because I forgot to mention this specifically. So hopefully everybody's still on here, but if not, they'll get it. So real quick, technically it's a name change. In substance, it's a name correction. Now, a lot of Moors specifically, and then just people in general, they get a name change. They add the bay on the end. Even I did it, add L on the end. Like it's what happens, just misguided, and it's just something that happens. So this is an incorrect way of doing things, and I've yet to see this work well for people. It's no different than you having a name on the street, Lil Ray Ray, Lil Dangerous, Lil whatever, or Big Jess, Big Queen, whatever it is. All right. So when you get locked up or anything happens, they're gonna be like, boom, whatever you'll go, Mark Anthony Johnson, aka Mark Anthony Johnson Bay. Mark Anthony Johnson, aka Lil Dangerous, aka Big Mark, aka Mark Anthony Johnson L Bay. That's how they gonna attach you. That's why you don't do a name change and you do a name correction the way that I do things, so that you cannot be attached to any of that shit. And you are doing what your parents intended to do. They didn't intend to style your name in all caps. They did intend to make sure that you have all the equity. They just didn't know that they were getting swindled out of it. They didn't know they even needed to protect it. They didn't know none of this. But that was their intention, because who's just going to be like, you can have my baby, you can have the estate, you can have everything, you can have this gift from God? Who's going to do that? Unless it's just some other, situation. So that's what you want. You need a name correction. So back to what you were saying, you did a name change or did you do a name correction?
I did a correction. I did a name correction.
All right, bet.
Affidavit on there, and then I loaded up the docket. I even got the right to travel. I got them to put the seal on it. Got the right to travel, and whereas like you said, following the whole Bay and L stuff or whatever. But
and the proper styling.
But I did another one because I was told that it has to be in reverse of the birth certificate, because if you arrested, it's a military, like you said, it's a military tribunal. So what do they call you by? They call you by your surname. Whenever you get locked up, or if you work for the government, they're gonna call you by your surname. So since it's done that way, you do it in reverse, and then you don't have a middle name as well, because the Social Security Administration doesn't recognize a middle name as a proper name. So
yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's not entirely my opinion, but I'm not against it at all. I'm not against that at all. But yeah, as long as it's in the proper styling, and proper styling and no middle name, then that's what matters. Like I say, I like to put everything on the face of the record as well, to terminate everything. But all in all, that's good. That's what needs to happen. Going back to the ways of your ancestors, doing what your parents intended, the sacred names that your parent gave you. You want a record that you own your name, because the state owns, the name on the birth certificate. All these are reasons. When you go to court, your court hearing, and they ask you why you want to do this, all these are reasons that you can say. Some people might not have a hearing. I didn't have to have one, but other people will. But yeah, that's good. All right. So my bad. I just wanted to get that out real quick while you said that. But go ahead and ask your question.
All right, cool. And then I did another name change, but I went through a probate court, and then that's when I did not a name change. I did a name correction, going back to being, you know, an Aborigine and, you know, being the first people on the land, you know, because we from the soil. So I did it through that way. And I did it through probate court and as a seal from, the, you know, the judge. And then here, you know, where I'm at, two judges don't sign it. It's a judge, and then there's the clerk, and then the clerk, just two clerks sign it, which makes it indemnified. But I appreciate your answering the questions.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. And yeah, just one last thing since you spoke on that. So in order to get your name correction triple sealed, it is called an exemplified record. That's what you have to get. They are going to challenge you on that more than likely. What you need to do is beforehand, search it, research it in the court fee schedule and print it out. And so then if they try to act like they don't know about it, which they probably will, you can point right to it and be like, well, regardless if you know about it or not, y'all do it. Here it is. Here's the money. I need it. Always pay in court with the money order from USPS because it's backed by gold. Always position yourself as the grantor or surety on behalf of the principal debtor. Yep. All right, next question.
Can you say that again one more time? The exemplified what?
Exemplified record.
Thank you.
No problem at all.
Joseph Alexis. Joseph Alexis.
I'm sorry.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? All right, what's good, fam? I don't know if you remember, man. I had hit you up when I was having my you know what I'm saying, we was having our son. And I you know, I was in the panic mode. I didn't even know what to do. So I had hit you up to see, you know what I'm saying, exactly what I needed to do. You know what I'm saying, as far as trying to you know, trying to protect my son at that time. So, and this was important. So I got a couple questions I wanted to ask you. Now, when you're doing a name change, right? Okay. Now, I think I think the lady was asking me when I was asking to do a name change. She was asking me that I need to go get fingerprints or whatever. Now, I remember I was you know, I took a couple of your classes already. And one of the questions I asked you is because I got felonies on my thing. I remember you were telling me that it's not supposed to be on the private side. So I remember that part. Now, and I do want to get with you, man, to try to figure out how can I get rid of it the proper way. You know what I'm saying? Or I got to wait for a class to come through or whatever, but I definitely want to try to take care of that. Now is by me having that, get my fingerprints, will it stop me from getting my name changed? Is what one of the questions I wanted to ask you.
You can't stop. You can't stop that. It's your right.
Okay. All right. And then the second question I wanted to ask you is, man, I'm dealing with a situation right now. My mom had custody of my niece, and I didn't, you know, so I thought it was just best for her to just go with her mom and just so she could have a better relationship with her. So my sister took my niece to Kentucky, and something happened, and CPS them got involved in it, and she ended up leaving my niece up there. But my mom had guardianship over my niece, but I made her, like, you know what I'm saying, kind of give all the paperwork to my sister or whatever. But now my sister is in this, I mean, my niece is in the system, and I've been trying to see what can I do to try to get her out of that system to get her back over here. And I even had a couple words with the you know what I'm saying, with the people and letting them know, like, y'all didn't even notify none of the family members, like, you know what I'm saying, to actually get them. But then when they do notify us, they try to see if we fit the criteria. I'm like, man, how you gonna see if we fit the criteria when she part of our clan? Like, that don't make no sense.
Well,
You know
I
what I'm
just
saying?
went over everything. If she got a birth certificate, then I just explained everything in class, how they have an interest in how they can enforce it, and that's what they're doing. They got possession, and they got possession and highest title right now.
Okay, so now what I wanted to see, so basically, if I go get her birth certificate, get it authenticated, just put her in a trust and stuff like that, I can pretty much go back and try to get her back.
Yeah. You need to
Okay.
show that you have the highest title.
Okay. Yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie, man. That's the only thing that keep stopping me from doing a lot of stuff, man, because I keep talking about this felony stuff, and I've been trying to, hey, man, I don't know, man.
Just because they want your fingerprints and all that, the object is to have a record exonerating you from the birth certificate. However that needs to happen, do it.
Okay, so even
Get your own petition, attach it, you know what I mean, to whatever they require. Just make sure you got your petition attached to it. You can use, even if they want you to fill out their petition, make sure you attach your petition to it. Make sure now they order, it's their order, so that's cool. But make sure you attach your petition to it. The object is to get the record exonerating you from the name on the birth certificate.
All right, yeah, I do got your name change correction. I do got that on that course.
Already went through it?
Nah, yeah, I went. I've been, man. Listen, I be trying to study that thing like night and day, man, so that way I can really properly understand that. It take me a little bit, man. So my people they're from the island, so man, everything we doing right now, man, is a struggle. But at the same time, I've been trying to study it night and day, man, till I can really grasp it, and then I'm going to go ahead and execute.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. Like I say all the time, it don't come overnight, man. And I just told y'all how much I really study. Like anybody around me will literally tell you that. Like,
yeah, man. Now I get it, man. Because
I'm not exaggerating.
I get it, because this me every day, every night, man. Like right now, the only thing I can do right now is I do DoorDash. I do majority of DoorDash, and I sell cars. I was doing it for a little minute till I got hit with a whole bunch of a lot of headaches, man. But I'm recovering, man. But you know what I'm saying. But that's all I do, man, all day, every day. And even when I talk to my friends, though, man, they kind of like don't want to be around me because I'm asking them questions. You know what I'm saying. But I do that, try to do a reputation, and I be trying to get them to understand it too. And sometimes they be like, man, bro, you gotta leave that shit alone. Like I'm like,
yeah,
nah,
man, that's how it's gonna be when you get into this stuff. But as long as you just keep faith and you know what I mean, stay on your journey. Your journey is your journey, and keep that in mind. Then you know what I mean, you'll be good, man. Just really just keep studying and execute, man. I appreciate you on here.
Nah, you good, man. I again, man. I got majority of your classes, man. I got a whole bunch of it, like all the way down, man. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying. Again, I'm trying to get like how you getting where you can just split it without no, you know what I'm saying. You know it by heart. So yeah, I do appreciate you, man.
Likewise, bro. Likewise, appreciate it. Next question. We got about 10 more minutes.
Joseph Delvisio. Joseph Delvisio.
Once.
Can you hear me? Hello?
What's happening with you?
Oh, all right. So when I go to authenticate my daughter's birth certificate, right? Do I need the original?
No, it don't matter which one you get. You just need to get one, and you need to get it authenticated.
Okay. And that process is explained in the notes that we're going to get?
You'll get it. The instructions will be on, I'll have it on a document that'll be in the Dropbox.
Okay. Well, I know it's probably a stupid question, but what do you mean by Dropbox?
It's an app where we store files.
Okay, so would I have to like download it or something?
Yeah, what I was showing y'all on the screen earlier, where I was bringing up documents. That's
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I just download that. It'll be in there.
Download. Well, when I send y'all the link, it'll prompt you to download it anyways. But if you want to,
Oh.
you can just go to the App Store and download Dropbox, or you can go on the website and sign up for it.
Okay. Now, my supposed hearing I was telling you about earlier is in March. So, in order for me to have any kind of standing, I pretty much have to get all this done by then.
You need to get it going. I mean, if you work on it, this is extremely new to people, probably a lot of people on here, so I get it. But you're just gonna have to get to it, man. It's really the only way, other than, you know what I mean, getting with us, and you know, we help you with it. But as far as you just doing it by yourself, like, yeah, you just really got to get to it. There's no other way around it. It can be done. I mean, you're not going to understand everything, but even if you can get the documents done and record it, you know, understand, you know, the trust, you know, you got a grantor, trustee, beneficiary, you get everything recorded, you know what I mean? Get your name correction. The biggest thing, if anything, man, is a name correction, because it's like with that, then you can like really show your status. And even let's say you don't even have your trust together, but you got your name correction, then you can create, like I said, I'm giving you a script on how to wrap up a case in trust, you know what I mean? So you can express it and put your name correction on the record in the file, you know what I mean, in a court case, and go from there. You know, at least what you are saying has real substance now. And you know, testimony under God with your status, you know what I'm saying? Then you start preserving your private interest on the record. Now you're doing equity on the record, and you can see the controversy. And so, you know, if for some reason it might be drug out, you know what I mean, because you're new to it, you know what I mean, but that's better than a bad outcome. And then you don't necessarily get the outcome you want, you can still go to appeals, and you'll use that record from the lower court case along with all the evidence that you have, and you'll essentially express, hey, you know, my rights are being injured here. Equity have ruled differently right here, right here, right here, right here, which would basically be your objections, or wherever they ruled against you whenever you put equity on the record.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with a name change, do you have to add something different than what you already have?
What you mean?
Like you're doing it, like my name's Joseph Delviscio, and if I go in for a name change, I can't use the same name, right?
It's the same name properly styled. The name, how you write it on paper, is the styling that you want. So most people, that's capital. The first letter is capitalized, the rest are lowercase, or you might have extra capital in there, but majority is lowercase. That's what you want. You're changing the style and the mode. You're correcting the style and the mode.
Okay, correcting.
Not military mode anymore. You're not dead.
So you want
like the name correction, like it's proof that you're living, right? But that's not necessarily in the system. It's not like once you do that, something magically happens in the system. No, you know what I mean? But that is going to be the foundation of what's going to get you in there. Like you don't get into private chambers. You don't get into private in-camera chambers with a judge without having a name correction.
Okay.
I've yet to hear that one, and I doubt I ever will, because you're considered a belligerent. But when you have your name correction, you're considered a friend of the U.S.
I got you. So the one that you're originally given, that's all caps.
Right. You're correcting it to a proper styling and mode,
Okay.
which is
All right,
going
cool.
to exonerate you from that all cap name.
Okay.
That name being an estate.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Next question.
Let's see, Joseph, can you lower your hand? Let's see, focused. Let's do Samantha. I'm gonna do Samantha. Samantha hasn't asked a question. Okay.
Hi, I just figured out how to raise my hand. I had a question about when you say status correction, does that mean political status? Because I've heard people say that. What is that what that means? Because you said something about the
Good question.
IRS.
Most people don't know about political status. So I don't go over that with I don't go over that with people, more so only people in my circle, to be transparent and honest with you.
Okay.
However, if that is something that you want to do, we can do that. You just need to set up a consultation, or we'll basically need to do it for you.
Okay. And then the other thing was you said wrapping things into a trust. And that's what you were talking about earlier with the dollar and the coin. And if you're doing if the coin is really silver and the dollar is not worth anything, why are we using a dollar?
I'm not of the crowd that says the dollar is not worth anything.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Far from
Gotcha.
my
And then
crowd, because guess what? How many of y'all are going to walk past a dollar and not pick it up?
no, I'm gonna pick it up.
Exactly. So that tells you dollar has worth right there. I don't care what I don't care what they tell you. That's
Gotcha.
that value right there that you're gonna pick it up, that matters.
Okay, it's the energy behind it. Okay,
Not only that, what I don't be telling the people, and I'm gonna stop the recording, but I'll tell y'all.